I will kick us off. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this Fireside Chat. And I, for one, am thrilled that Brand Innovators extended the offer to me to moderate a conversation with my new friend, Charlotte Watson, the Global CMO at Olaplex. And we both have a lot to cover today. So before we dive in and I pass it over to Charlotte, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, Loree Lash-Valencia, and I'm the VP of Sales over at Attest. And for those of you that don't know Attest yet, we are an online do-it-yourself consumer research platform with a whole lot of expert research support. We can reach over 110 million consumers in 58 countries very quickly and help you get insights and answers to critical business questions that you have ongoing every day in your business. And we like to say we help you inform your intuition and dissolve any doubt. And we truly see continuous insights as a very strong competitive advantage. So we at Attest recently conducted a beauty and grooming report, and we uncovered many fascinating insights. We're going to use a handful of them today as starting points for our discussion. And I'm happy to share the entire report with anyone that should be interested. The short form of my email, should you want to reach out, is Loree@AskAttest, and I'm happy to send you the report. Now, before I introduce Charlotte, I just want to share a bit of a funny story that emerged when the two of us were chatting. It's my introduction to Olaplex, which happened about 3 years ago, I think. And I was super excited, like I'm sure a lot of you out there, to use this cult product. And I went out, I believe it was Sephora, bought my product, came home, and you fall in love as soon as you're kind of like rubbing that luxurious shampoo into your hair. And shampoo, condition, I love it, right? I made the very bad decision though of leaving it in the bathroom. And I'm one of those people that doesn't wash their hair all the time, you know? So when I went back in, it was almost gone. And I was like, ah! And I had an 11-year-old, she was 11 then. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, why did you use my product? And she looks at me and she's like, well, Mom, I love Olaplex too. And you know, that struck me, like, one, how does my 11-year-old love Olaplex? How does she know about Olaplex? So when I shared with Charlotte, and I'm like, well, that's my story, she said to me, well, you know, she laughed and she goes, everybody has an Olaplex story. So before we get into the chat, I think that's a great place for Charlotte to tell you a little bit about that and a little bit more about Olaplex.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Loree, and thank you, Brand Innovators. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. You know, Loree, as I said when we had our intro call, I love the fact that we're kicking off with you sharing your Ola story, because it really feels so authentic to Olaplex as a brand. And these stories that everyone has, they're so unique, and it's the connection that we have with our community, with our brand and our product. And these are only possible because of the unparalleled science, and we have products that really, really work. But I like to describe Olaplex as a combination of heart and science. So we combine those incredible breakthroughs in science technology with a really tangible connection with our community. And I think your example that you just shared is a perfect segue into that. I think in the Olaplex world, consumer engagement is better described as community engagement. So I know we're here to talk about consumer engagement this morning, but I do want to reframe it a little bit just through the lens of Olaplex, because you know, community engagement really encapsulates our inclusive approach, which includes our professional stylist community, our consumers, our influencers, our creator audience, as well as our internal teams that are listening to our audience through social media. And obviously our roots began in pro, and we always begin there, knowing that this really helps us have that authentic proof of concept with those that really, really matter and actually have influence in our category. So, you know, I wanted to share a little bit about how I think of the sort of secret source of Olaplex before we really get into that Q&A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please do.
So, so Loree, where are we kicking off today? I know the report had some great insights, and I would really recommend everybody goes out and really reads this full report. But where do you want to start?
Okay, let's start with behavior, a little bit around behavior. So one of the things that we saw through the report is 30 minutes is the typical time Americans spend on beauty and grooming every day. And 86% do at-home beauty and grooming treatments. So does this surprise you in any way?
I'm sorry to say, no, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I think it's exciting because it validates what we've seen and felt in the industry over the last couple of years. And, you know, it's a really exciting inflection point at the moment for personal care and beauty in general, but specifically hair, which is really leading this growth. And, you know, I think it's really interesting. It used to be like self-care Sunday, and it now seems to have become self-care every day because, you know, as consumers and all of us have been more at home, we've had time to reflect upon our self-care routines and really reclaim those beauty practices as our own during the pandemic and whilst we've been at home. So at Olaplex, we've seen some incredibly strong engagement in incorporating beauty rituals into everyday life. And we recently had a movement on TikTok, #OlaplexBun, which all began a few months ago, where our community was really showing how they incorporate using some of our Olaplex, preferred products into their sort of day-to-day life. So, you know, whether it's our number 3 treatment, which they need pre-shampoo, you know, to leave on for 10 minutes, they might be leaving that on while they're finishing up a work call or ruffling something up in the kitchen. So, you know, I think that's really, really interesting. And we've seen, like, I mean, that movement has now close to 25 million views of the hashtag. So I think, you know, consumers are really going deep into this idea of, you know, building out hair care routines. They're taking inspiration from skincare. You know, they want to know the ingredients and the technology behind the formula. They want to be informed. There's a real appetite for education, and Olaplex has been really well placed to build upon this momentum. And we recently launched a product, number 9. In fact, I have it in front of me. Maybe I will show it to you, which is our new Nourishing hair serum. And this is a really exciting product because it contains a potent combination of antioxidants, including red algae, which actually helps to prevent pollution impact. And, you know, we've introduced PPI, our pollution prevention indicator, as well, to help measure the impact. And I think this is an area that we're still learning, and this will continue to be an area of exploration for us and for the industry. You know, and I'm sure you and the audience have heard this conversation, this dialogue around skinification of hair. I mean, that's not going away. There is so much momentum building there. And, you know, now the sort of deep interest in scalp health, you know, we're really primed to continue to grow in this category. Did you see there was a recent study that MPD did on the future of hair, which, as I was researching for this conversation, I thought was really, really interesting, because that said that 90% of US consumers are continuing to show interest in this category, like strong interest. And so over the next 2 years, it's continuing to expect to grow to about plus 15% over the next 2 years, driven by this strong interest, but also the high efficacy of the products now.
That's amazing. Amazing. We could talk about like every one of the products if we had enough time, because
I know
you have a system. That's because you have a system. It's not just shampoo and conditioner or pre, it's a whole system. And we'll talk about even more, you know, things further on, but I'm going to shift a little. You kind of teed up social media, right? So today, 54%, more than half of Americans say they interact with or follow beauty and grooming brands on social media. And this figure rises to almost 70% for people 40 and below. So can you talk a bit about what platforms you're engaging with? What do you find is working best?
Absolutely. I mean, social media has been at the center of how we communicate with our audience and wider community at Olaplex since day one. So I'm really happy to talk about this topic. And before we get into it, I know that some of my team members are on this live. So I did want to just shout out to the incredible consumer engagement and social media team at Olaplex, who, you know, they work tirelessly to ignite those conversations. And we have a really high touch service where we have team members who are responding directly to every message, every DM, every comment. So, you know, I just want to thank them for their dedication there. You know, we've got this highly engaged community of stylists and consumers, which has enabled us to build this category leading engagement on social media. And we have a few different platforms that we are sort of working across, and we think about the platforms with what role do they play in our sort of consumer journey. And when we think about Facebook, you know, that's a platform that allows us to connect with over 250,000 professional stylists. We actually have some private Facebook groups on Facebook that where our education team are interacting directly with stylists, with the community, sharing tips and tricks, you know, serving the stylist, providing education, and really just fostering and serving that information sharing back and forth. So that's a really important platform as it relates to our pro community. On Instagram, we continue to rank as the #1 prestige hair care brand there. And, you know, growth is exponential. And I think that platform is a hybrid of our professional community and also our consumers. And it's somewhere that, you know, we show up and we're transparent, we're sharing our message. And that's really sort of an awareness and consideration play for us. And then TikTok, I mean, the power of TikTok is undeniable. The virality of that platform is unmatched. And, you know, I think social listening's become even more important as that platform has grown because, you know, something can be sparked literally, you know, overnight. And when I was preparing for this conversation, you know, I had to look this morning at how many views we had on the Olaplex hashtag because it's building so quickly. And we're now over 930 million views on our Olaplex hashtag. And that's really based off the power of our UGC library. It's, you know, the engagement that we have through our pros, through our organic relationships with creators and influencers who share sort of real, relatable content that's authentic and native to every platform. You know, there's a lot of discussion about, you know, being native to a platform, but we really do create content that's specific to each platform, utilizing our UGC, which continues to remain a really powerful component across all of the platforms for us.
Yeah, your reach is incredible. Like I started off like a 11-year-old to well older than me. Like it's so broad and people are so passionate. So we could talk about that the whole time, but I'm going to move us on to something else I think is really exciting about your brand. So we're going to talk about other strategies that move the needle. And our research showed that the #1 most persuasive tactic was sampling. So getting samples. And then flip side, we learned that interestingly, Americans claim that they're least interested in collaborations with influencers and celebrities. And you talked a bit about the marketing strategies. So this isn't exactly, you know, we would want to talk about, you've got tons of ambassadors, but this isn't an ambassador per se, but I was on your site and I noticed some really exciting experiential aspects. And I think that would be really exciting if you could share that with the audience.
Absolutely. Well, let me answer that question. Let me answer that sort of final question first, and then we can kind of circle back to marketing strategy and sampling. But I think what you saw, Loree, was the introduction of our new virtual team member. So we're really excited to have launched this incredible new virtual team member. Their name is Kai. They are a synthesis of 240 employees and professional advocates who support our brand, both from a physical perspective, but also emotional and behavioral. So they're actually becoming a voice for us. And the reason that we went forwards is that research showed to us that consumers wanted to see themselves reflected in a brand to feel connected and engaged, which of course makes sense. And as unique as we are as individuals, so many of us are united by Olaplex, as you just shared earlier with your Ola story. And so really this virtual team member is going to capture the hope and happiness of the Olaplex team as we go forward. And we launched Kai, is their name, on a social media a couple of weeks ago. And we actually crowdsourced the name. So we had 3 names that our internal team had put forward with really cool and relevant meanings. And our community made the decision, and the name Kai was chosen. And you'll be seeing Kai pop up in our social communications, in our digital activations. And we're really excited to continue the expansion of this virtual universe at Olaplex. So stay tuned.
Amazing, amazing. Did you want to talk about sampling? Is that something that's key to?
Well, I think one of the things that I would just share, and I was thinking about with this question, is that there are a couple of things. So first thing I will say is that, you know, sampling, obviously very powerful part of the marketing mix, but, you know, we have an integrated approach, and, you know, how you connect the dots is almost as important as the dots that you choose. So yes, sampling plays a powerful part, particularly in that consideration phase and driving the consumer down the journey. But it's really important that that is, you know, coupled with other parts of the marketing funnel. And I did just want to speak about your comment around collaborations, because you spoke about influencers and celebrities, you know, being the least interesting. I think one of the things that sets Olaplex apart from the rest as it relates to these collaborations is that we have built every relationship we've had through authentic connections with creators. So not, you know, based on, you know, we're not reaching out to people who've never used the brand before. We're really trying to build upon momentum that is authentic and already exists. And transparency and trust building is key for us, and will continue to be.
And that's really important. A recent separate survey that we did around what's driving, it is driven by either relationships by friends, someone that's trusted, or something that is user generated, more so than some celebrities. So I think that, you know, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the next question is around sustainability and clean ingredients. So 52% of Americans are seeking clean or natural. And I know that's a big part of Olaplex. So how does that tally up to your strategy this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question and a really important topic, Loree. And I know when you and I connected on this, we talked about how clean can be a bit confusing,
really
because there are so many interpretations of what that, you know, what that word means. So again, I think for us, it's all about transparency. The key is really providing the truth and empowering the consumer so that they can make informed decisions. I mean, for us, sustainability and this wider topic plays a really important part in our brand and how we operate. You know, all of our formulas are cruelty-free and non-toxic. And I think the ingredients, the list that we are free from is just as important as the list of ingredients that we have in every product. So if you go onto our P page or one of our partner P pages, you'll be able to see all of that information up front, which I think is really important. We continue to explore ways to reduce our carbon footprint. That is really important to us. So we're continuing to contribute to that. Since 2015, we actually have not used secondary packaging. So because of that decision those years ago, we've been able to save 35 million pounds of GHG that would have been emitted to the environment, and also save 57 million gallons of water. So that's pretty significant, but we don't rest on our laurels, and we continue to produce clean products and find new ways to expand this. And we're actually just beginning a partnership with EcoVadis, who will help us foster, and foster this sense of environmental stewardship as we think about our vendor selection and also supply chain process. So, another area that we're thinking through is what is our next step on the path to plastic neutrality. So looking and evaluating currently our plastic consumption. So these are areas that we're looking to develop go forward.
Wow, a lot going on. I'm just going to put this out to the audience. Like, we have allowed 15 minutes at the end. So if you have questions for Charlotte, please just put them in your Q&A or the chat, and I'll make sure that we work them in. So the next question, we found that Amazon is 2 times more popular than brands' own websites. I don't know if that is true for you. How does that feel, like, in terms of that? Or if that isn't true, how do you, I know you're on Amazon, how do you view Amazon as maybe a distribution strategy?
Yeah. Well, I think firstly, I would just say we have a really synergistic channel strategy, and it's underpinned by our omni-channel business approach. So, we have 3 really important parts of our business: our professional business, our retail business, and our direct-to-consumer, that obviously includes our brand.com as well as Amazon and other pure play accounts. So, Amazon plays a really powerful part of that DTC piece and part of that cross-channel ecosystem, in that, it's often, and we know this from research, it's often, the first stop when people are reading reviews, gathering information, searching, discovering brands. So it really plays an important part in that awareness phase of the brand. But really it's that whole ecosystem that we think about when we think about DTC.
Amazing. Is there more? I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Good.
I was just going to say, if anyone wants to share their Olaplex story at the end, I would love to hear it. So, obviously I'm happy to answer any questions, but also, as this is a consumer engagement conversation and the spirit is all about community sharing, would love to hear any stories that people may have that are emotive or, just powerful to hear.
Please do. We're watching that, like I said, Q&A and chat. If you found it, it took me a little bit to find it. So maybe you have to look at the bottom of your screen or your chat. So there's a real theme across the report. Oh, there he goes. There's a real theme across the report around simplicity, with Americans now using an average of 1 to 3 products daily, and 5% spending longer than an hour on their appearance. And with the Olaplex system, are you seeing that as a way for you to stand out against the competition?
Yeah. I laughed when I read this question because I think I'm definitely part of that 5%. I'm being in the beauty industry, I'm such a product junkie, and I love trying and testing all sorts of new innovations. But no, I think this is definitely in line with what we see. And, Olaplex has a very intentional product lineup. We have a portfolio of 12 products that all make up this holistic hair health regimen. Our brand aesthetic as well. I'm not sure if, just in case people haven't seen our sort of branding, this is one of our hero products, our Bond Maintenance Conditioner number 5. And you can see here, so very simple, straightforward, clean, science-based, easy to navigate. And I think that's really helped us. We have this numbered system that really creates an easy to identify routine for the end consumer. And again, it goes back to this heart and science. It's easy to navigate. The product really works. And so it makes people, feel good and look good. And that's why they come back and they try other products.
And smell good. Oh, it's so luxurious if you haven't tried it.
I
And
have to say, Loree, your hair, I saw you on, I think it was Thursday or Friday, your hair looks amazing.
It looks different, right? And I am not joking. So in prepping for this, I was so excited to like do my hair with several. So I spent a bit longer than I normally spend, but I kid you not. So the first go round, I didn't straighten it, right? So it was kind of very wavy. Popped on a Zoom and someone's like, whoa, your hair looks amazing. I'm like, really? Really? Then I went to a party and I got more compliments. So I really, I'm a convert. I'm trying it all now. I do look silky. I think I might even get bangs now, but speaking about I need more layers now that my hair is not frizzy. Now that it's like smooth, I think I can go for some layers. So we talked about the numerical system. I don't know if you can share any secrets with us, but any plans for more products coming out this year?
Well, all I can say is that, we usually launch, we have a commitment, we're launching 2 to 3 new products a year. So definitely stay tuned for updates. Social media is the best place to hear about our new innovations and product launches. And I think, we're really excited also to be leveraging new technologies. I think that's going to be an area for growth for us as well. And we last year launched our hair diagnostic tool. We've had over 2 million users of that tool. So that's going on. It's a virtual tool where you take a picture of your hair and then you're recommended a personalized hair regimen. So that there's an appetite for that. Obviously, we've just introduced you all to Kai, our virtual team member, and definitely more to come in that space as well.
Amazing. So one of the things, I don't know if we even really got to talk about this, but one of the things that stood out from the report to me is just the growth of men in this industry, both around wellness and cosmetics. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that trend in hair.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, hair, Olaplex, created this whole new category of hair bond building, of repairing bonds from the inside, the hair bonds from the inside out. And hair bonds are agnostic. So whether you're female, male, gender neutral, non-binary, I mean, our products are used widely. We also see a lot of our products being used for beard care as well, in different ways. So yes, we have a strong following in the male audience, and that will be something as we continue to grow that we would like to look at.
And any thought, I mean, it could be very early. It's such a universal packaging. Any need to speak to this consumer in a different way, or gender or
definitely? I mean, I think messaging, content, platforms, these are all considerations as we think about, different consumer groups within our audience. So yeah, definitely.
That's so funny, Vito. That was when Charlotte and I were talking about that exact thing, and we think that might need a separate one, but Vito just asked, any plans to enter the metaverse?
I saw that. I think that's a really exciting question. I wish I was able to answer it more fully, but I will just say, with the introduction of Kai, our virtual team member, she will need a virtual space. So, stay tuned. We'll be sharing updates.
Awesome. Is there anything else that, you would like to share that I haven't quite scratched on yet?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot of what you and I sort of talked about in the setup for the meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions people have. I'm happy to hear stories, whatever you would like to do next.
I would love if anyone wants to share their Ola story, because we're so curious about that. But another thing that I think you might be addressing this with number 9, but metaverse is something that's top of mind for people, but also climate and impact. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't foresee, the climate just improving. And I keep thinking about the impact of that, whether it's pollution or heat or, what that means to our hair, our skin. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to what I was saying when we were talking about number 9, there are several different types of hair damage. Environmental is obviously a key type. And I think, we're certainly exploring this idea of pollution prevention. And that's something that we've introduced with number 9 and something that we're continuing to explore. It's going to be very important. I mean, we're still learning, as I said earlier, with the effects of climate change and the environment in different parts of the world.
Yeah, scary stuff. What else do I want to pick your brain on that I can? I know I don't want to get too into your business, but any challenges that are not obvious that you're facing?
I think obviously we've been impacted by global macroeconomics and supply chain concerns and things like this, but we've been able to actually, create a plan working with some of our third-party vendors. We've found new ways of stacking products to really help with that process. So, yes, we've had some challenges in that area, as have others, but we've been able to really leverage those relationships we've had and create an action plan.
I would think, again, coming off of COVID, I would think there would have been an uptick as everybody's home kind of taking care of themselves. Is that something that you saw over this past year?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, I think, this appetite for education around hair health, around wellness and self-care in general started during the pandemic, and it's only continuing to build momentum. As I said earlier, and I shared some of the information from MPD, I think, this hair category is set to grow 15% year over year for the next couple of years. And, we will be there right at the front of innovation and what's new in technology to really bring meaningful and intentional products to our community. But we're definitely seeing this appetite continue to grow. And you see that with our stats on social media that I was sharing earlier as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think we've seen that with a lot of brands in terms of what's going to stick and what goes away. I think care, self-care is really something that isn't going away.
Yeah. As I said to you, I think that, during the pandemic, it used to be that, you had time once a week to really kind of dedicate, at the weekend to your self-care routine. And I think what's happened during the pandemic is just life in general has become a lot more holistic. And so, we've all found ways of weaving these different self-care moments into our lives, whether it's a hair health moment and maybe it's putting on a treatment like our number 3 for 10 minutes whilst, as I said, we're finishing up a Zoom call or something so that we're maximizing our time. Or it could be taking some time out, to do a brief meditation to sort of reset in the middle of the day, which I know is something that, I practiced personally over the last couple of years and found really helpful.
That's beautiful. So I have something in the Q&A where somebody is kudos on sustainability efforts to date, such an important focus, the water reduction and how you're dealing with the packaging. So they're curious about your next focus on sustainability efforts.
Yeah, I think it's really what I said earlier, which is, we've just embarked upon this relationship with EcoVadis, who, will help us with that environmental stewardship. So we're now looking at our vendor selection and our, supply chain process. So that's a piece of it. And then secondly, our plastic consumption evaluation and kind of what is that next step on this path to plastic neutrality in the future. So obviously that's, it's a bigger, it's a bigger journey for us, but we're starting to embark and think about what are those next steps, what's the roadmap to that in the future. So those are some of the areas that we're focused on right now as we think about sustainability and building that out. And then of course, I think, one of the things I'm thinking about as a marketer is, you know, how do we communicate this in a consistent way to our community so that they're aware of all the efforts that we're taking, you know, every day to support our environment. So, you know, that's something that we're looking at from a marketing strategy perspective at the moment.
Must be hard as a marketer with so many things to say, right? Like there's so many things, whether it's sustainability or inclusion or the efficacy of your product. And here we talked about at the top of the hour, the appeal, the multi-generational appeal. You know, I still, again, to date, now she's 13, but still runs around the house going, look at my hair, look at my hair. It's not frizzy, it's so beautiful. How do you choose? Like, how do you, because you can't say everything at once. Is that an ongoing challenge?
I think it is an ongoing challenge, especially in today's world where, you know, as social media continues to expand and the virality of some of the new platforms, there are so many different conversations happening at one time. And I think you have to continue to challenge yourself as a marketer to prioritize and, you know, what are those key messages you want to put forward to your community and to your audience, and figure out what are the right places to tell those stories, because it may be that, you know, there's an ongoing space that on, you know, whether it's your site or through social, that you can speak to sustainability, somewhere that customers begin to know and trust, and you can continue to drive them there. So I think, yeah, it's an ongoing challenge, but I think you have to really prioritize and, you know, create a hierarchy. And then I also think you have to think about the different consumer groups, the different generations, and what's going to speak most relevant to each group.
No easy job, Charlotte. A lot to do. We have
definitely not, but that's why it's so important to work with partners like yourself, because, you know, really gleaning these insights helps us. You know, we at Olaplex like to really be very rich in terms of the data that we capture around our consumer and our community, so that we can make well-informed decisions on how we prioritize our marketing messages.
It's true. You did tap on something we see again and again. Like the message over here could be different than the message over there. What's really resonating with her, with him, and that could almost be regional, geographical, age, like socioeconomic group. Like there's so much, and without the data, again, you're just guessing. And you can get the data. That's kind of where we come in. So we have 2 minutes left. I would love one person to give us their Ola story. Come on. I'm sure somebody out there.
There's someone listening in that I know that's got a beautiful story to share.
Nobody? This is the fun of doing a video one,
I know,
because I can't be like you tell me your story, which if we were live, I would honestly do audience. I would pull you right out and make someone with really great hair. I would just assume
we
that
should
you're using
send you
Olaplex.
some products, Vito, and then you could.
I was going to say, I'll tell my story. No, I'm just kidding. I'll need products and then I could tell my story. I'll give you a testimonial for sure.
Next time.
Absolutely. But listen, I totally really enjoyed this session, and there were so many hindsights and takeaways from the beginning about, you know, it's not about necessarily consumer engagement, it's about community engagement. I love that. I love that fact that, you know, how important and critical social listening is, and to understanding, you know, your audience, and then utilizing your UGC library appropriately. And it's not necessarily about, you know, a celebrity influencer. It's about a micro influencer who really is authentic to the brand and believes in the brand. And that's really translates to your platforms and how authentic and native you are to those platforms. How that, you know, again, telling the right message in the right format on the right platform to the right audience and target, critical. And then, you know, following it up with all of the sustainability efforts and really being that company that's out there looking to improve, you know, the environment and being that steward. And, you know, I mean, again, like gleaming self-care and how important that is. I mean, there was so much packed into this 30 minutes that, you know, I think we need another session. But we really enjoyed it, Charlotte and Loree. And I thank you for both being here today and for your time, and would love to see you again, on our stage.